Okay, so good morning, everyone. So today we're going to discuss quadratic equation and the different methods on how to solve quadratic equation. So here we have a quadratic equation. Okay, so what are now the four methods that are used to solve for quadratic equation? So number one, we have factoring. Okay, then we have number two, we have the completing the square. Okay, and then we have number three. So the third one, we have extracting the roots. Okay, extracting the square roots. And then the fourth one, we have the quadratic formula. Okay, or the formula method. Okay, so um, take note that quadratic equation is in the form of what? In the form of, you have a x squared plus bx plus c, that is equals to 0. So that is now the form of quadratic equation. So quadratic equation is in the second degree, okay, equation. So we're going to solve for the different methods that we are going to use to solve for quadratic. Okay, so the first method, we have the factoring method. Okay, so factoring method. So we're going to solve the following quadratic equation using factoring method. So first problem, we have x squared plus 8x plus 12, that is equals to 0. So in this case, we're going to find the factors of the first term and the last term, which is, or the third term, which is x squared and 12. Okay, so here we have factors of your x. We have x times x. And then we have also factors of your 12, your last term. So we have so many factors for 12, which is you have 12 times 1. Okay, so you have 4 times 3, or you can have 6 times 2. So those factors, you're going to select the suitable factors for 12 such that we will be able to get the correct or the exact middle term. So in this case, if you're going to, actually this is a trial and error, okay? You try all the possible factors that would later on fit to the given middle term. So in this case, you have 12. So if we're going to try 4 times 3 here, okay, let us check if we are going to get the correct middle term. So 4 times x, that will give you 4x, and then you have 3 times x, that will give you 3x. So you have 7x if you're going to add that one. So the 7x is not the correct middle term. So we're going to try another factor. Okay, factors of 12. So say for example, okay, we are going to try another factor, which is you have 6 and 2. So you have 6 and 2. So therefore, you're going to multiply 6 times 2, that will give you what? 6x. Then you have 2 times x, that will give you what? 2x. So the result will be 8x. So this time, we now get the correct middle term. So that means that the factors are 6 and 2. So take note that we have positive 8, so, and we have also positive 6, positive 2. So therefore, all are positive. So we have x plus 6 and you have x plus 2 as the factors. Okay? If you're going to multiply x times x, that will give us x squared. If you're going to multiply 6 times 2, it will give us what? Positive 12. And if you're going to get the middle term, so just multiply 6 times x, and then you have x times 2. So it will give us 8x as our middle term. So that means that the factors are correct. So here, we have factors x plus 6 and then x plus 2. So these are the factors, okay? but we're going to get the roots. Okay, so we have two roots here because we have two factors. And take note that is we're talking about quadratic. Okay, quadratic meaning the roots are in we have two roots to extract. Okay, so we have here the first root, we have x plus 6 that is equals to 0, so x equals to negative 6. The other one, you have x plus 2 is equals to 0, therefore x equals to negative 2. So your roots now, you have x1 is equals to negative 6 and your x is equals to negative 2. So these are now your roots. Okay, these are now your roots. You have x1 and x2. Now how will you know if your roots are correct? Okay, how will you know if your values or your factors are correct? So to know if these are correct, okay, you just simply check it. Okay, check it. If your x is equals to negative 6, what we're going to do, we are going to substitute your negative 6 to the given equation. So you have now x squared, so negative 6 squared plus 8 times negative 6, and then that is plus 12 is equals to 0. So this will give us what? Positive 36 plus negative what? 48 plus 12 is equals to 0. So 36 plus 12, that will give us positive 48 minus 48 is equals to 0. So this becomes 0 and 0. So that means that negative 6 is correct. Now how about the other factor? How about the other roots? So if x equals to negative 2, then 4 we have negative 2 squared plus 8 times negative 2 plus 12 is equals to 0. So you have positive 4 minus 16 plus 12 is equals to 0. So therefore you have 16 minus 16 is equals to 0, or 0 is equals to 0. Okay? So that means that x is equals to negative 2. This is also the correct value. Okay? So meaning the factors, we have x plus 6 and x plus 2 are the correct factors, and the roots which is equivalent to negative 6 and negative 2 are the correct roots. Okay? So there are also cases wherein the first root will be correct and the second root is wrong. So that means that you have a wrong root and most probably you have a wrong factor. Okay? Meaning that the root should be correct. The two roots should be correct. Okay? The first and the second root, when you're going to substitute that to the given equation, it should be correct. So that you will know that your factors and your roots are all correct. Okay, so that is how you're going to check your roots. Okay, so let's proceed to problem number 2. So problem number 2, you have 2x1 plus x is equals to what? 12. So first, we're going to simplify this one. So 2x times 1, that will give you 2x, plus you have 2x times x, that will give you 2x squared, that is equals to 12. Now if you notice that the equation now can be reduced. Okay, the equation can be reduced. So therefore, what we're going to do, we try to reduce this one first. So we have x plus, okay, by dividing it by 2, so x plus x squared, that is equals to 6. And then after that, we're going to rearrange, forming to quadratic. So you have x squared plus x minus 6 is equals to 0. Okay? Then we start now factoring. So factors of x squared will be x times x. Okay? And factors of 6, we have 3 times 2, you have 6 times 1. So take note that the middle term is negative, positive x. So we can have 3 times 2 as our factor. So if we're going to check, you have 3x. And then if you're going to multiply that one, you have 2x. So if you're going, take note that it is positive x. So that means that you have only a coefficient of, or numerical coefficient that is equivalent to 1. So therefore, we're going to subtract 3 and 2. So 3 minus 2, it will give us 1x or x. Now, the middle term is positive, so therefore 3 should be positive and 2 should be negative. So here, we have x plus 3 and you have x minus 2 as your factors. So you have x plus 3, okay, and you have x minus 2 as your factors. Now, getting the roots, so you have x1 is equals to negative 3 and your x2 is equals to positive 2. So these are now your roots, okay? Okay, so let's proceed to problem number 3. So problem number 3, you have y squared minus 7y, you have minus 8 is equals to 0. So what are now the factors of your y? So you have y times y. And the factors now of your 8, so you have 4 times 2, 8 times 1. Okay, so the most suitable factors in which we will be able to get the correct middle term is you have 8 times 1. So if we're going to check the middle term, you have 8 times y, you have 8y. And you have y times 1 that will give you 1y. Okay, so that you should supposedly give you what? 7y. And 7 is negative, so therefore 8 is negative and 1 should be positive. So in this case, you have 1 minus y minus 8, and then you have times y plus 1. So your factors now are what? Y minus 8, and you have 1 plus y plus 1. So for your roots, y1 is equals to positive 8, and your y2 is equals to negative 1. These are now your roots. And these are now your factors. Okay? So again, if you're going to check for the if your roots are correct or if your factor is correct, then you're going to substitute the values of your y1 and your y2 to the given equation. Okay, so let's proceed to problem number 4. So problem number 4 is you have 51b is equals to 18b squared plus what? 35. Okay, so first we're going to rearrange that into a quadratic form. So here, to retain the positive value of your b squared, what we're going to do, we're going to transpose your 51b. So we have 18b squared minus 51b plus 35. Okay? So what are now the factors of 18 and 35? So factors of 18 and 35, we have 9 times 2, 18 times 1, we have 6 times 3. So here what we're going to do is we're going to use 6b times 3b. And then the factors now of 35, you have 7 times 5. Okay? Then if we're going to check for the middle term, if that is correct, we're going to multiply 7 times 3b. That will give us 21b. And you have 6b times 5, that will give us what? 30b. So that it will give us what? 51b. And 51 is negative, therefore your 21 should be negative, and your 30 is also negative. So therefore that will give us 6b minus 7 times 3b minus 5. So your factors now are, you have 6b minus 7, and you have 3b minus 5. Now for your roots, your b1 is equivalent to positive 7 over 6, and your b2 is equivalent to positive 5 over 3. So these are now your roots, okay, your b1 and b2, and your factors now are you have 6b minus 7 and times 3b minus 5. Okay? Okay, so let's proceed to the last example, example number 5. So we have 12x squared, okay, plus 31x, and then you have plus 20 is equals to 0. Okay? So again, we have so many factors for 12. So what are now the factors of 12? So you have 12 times 1, 6 times 2, we have 4 times 3. Okay, so let us try for x times 3x. Okay, and the factors now of your 20. So you have 20 times 1, 10 times 2, and then you have 4 times 5. So let's try 5 times 4. Let's check. Okay, so this will become 15x, and also this will become 16x. So that will give us 31x as our middle term. So take note, 31 is positive, so 15 is positive, and also 16 is positive. So that will give us what? Positive 31x. So the factors now are 44x plus 5 times 3x plus 4. Okay, so that is now your factors. 4x plus 5, then 3x plus 4. So for your roots, you have x1 is equals to negative 5 over 4, and your x2, okay, is equals to negative 4 over 3. So these are now your roots, x1, x2, and this is now your factor, which is 4x plus 5 times 3x plus 4. Again, checking if your roots or your factors are correct, so just simply substitute the equivalent value of your roots to the given equation. Okay? So that is the last example that we have for factoring method in solving quadratic equations. Okay, so for questions and clarifications, you can post it in our Blackboard, in our forum. So I hope that you're going to post it, you post something in our Blackboard for clarifications and for questionings. Okay, so thank you for listening and have a nice day, everyone.